In 2022, there are numerous mangas serializing and being brought to the Western world. Countless, one could say, to the point where you have to pick and choose which ones you want to read. And while many of them have fantastic writing and share fantastic stories, few of them have such an impact, at least to me, as coming-of-age stories. As many of you would know, I produce occasional Bleach content. One of the reasons I love Bleach is, to me, it feels like one massive coming-of-age story, all told from Ichigo's perspective, reaching its climax in Thousand Year Blood War. But that's besides the point. Today's video zooms in on one particular coming-of-age story, one that simply stands out amongst the giants, and that would be known as Asano's underrated, underappreciated work, called Solanin. This work was recommended to me on my podcast called The Big Three. You guys should totally check it out and subscribe to it, as we discuss anime and manga every week for your own personal enjoyment, whether it's during work, family meetups, weddings, funerals, vibe time, or anytime. This video will try to stay as spoiler free as possible, with some exceptions. I will spoil a few small things, and there will be a small section where I spoil the biggest twist in the story, but I will warn you prior to that section. Another warning is I'm very bad with pronunciation, so I might mess up a few pronunciations. Just wanted to put that out there before we enter today's video. Anyway, without all further ado, let's open up this masterpiece and explain why you should read it. Solanin is a story written by Asano, the creator of several popular works, such as his biggest hit being Goodnight Pun Pun. His works tend to detail humanity and dive into the themes of their nature. Solanin specifically is a story about Miyako and her life as an individual. She is an office worker who makes a decent amount to live, but because of that she is stuck in her own mental anguish. She doesn't have concerns like rent and lively expenses, but because of all her needs being met, she has mental concerns. Miyako as a character is still growing older. She has no goals and is simply unable to find a point in life. She isn't suicidal, but she deals with motivational issues and a lack of drive to get things done. Miyako has no direction in her life, and because of that she ends up quitting her job on a whim, despite her partner making next to nothing. She has enough savings to live on for just a bit of freedom. In fact, she lives in pure freedom, but quickly finds that without work, she still accomplishes nothing, as she still experiences the same lack of direction as she had before. The problem is not her job. It's this war in her mind that she knows she can achieve an average life, but she doesn't want that. That's boring. Almost in her mind, she thinks she wants freedom, but in all reality, she wants to be happy. She wants goals, she wants direction. All her activities and happiness is formed through a single unpredictable relationship with her boyfriend. But as the story evolves, twists and turns start to form, and things don't go exactly as planned. Throughout the story, she must learn to embrace her unpredictable future with her boyfriend and their relationship. Her character arc was fantastic throughout the story, as it really drove me as a character. There are a few times that I feel changed, not just by a story, but by a specific driving character, and Miyako is one of them. Throughout my journey in Solanin, Miyako slowly rose through my favorite characters in all of fiction, to the point where a month had passed and I can say without a doubt that she's my favorite female character of all time. I love her coming of age story and how she handles her mind, how she finds happiness and deals with unexpected tragedies coming her way. I love how she handles her mental issues in such a unique format. Asano perfectly portrays everything when it comes to the story of Solanin, as she finds a purpose, but then unexpectedly tragedy ruins everything. But at this point I can't reveal anything else. The development that takes place from start to finish feels realistic. It's not one that's continually upward, but fluctuates. She goes uphill, uphill again, downhill once more. Life seems fine, but there's always a left turn on the journey of her life, and that's what makes it so real. This is something I rarely see in coming of age stories. Just because you think you achieved happiness doesn't mean you don't deal with bull crap again and go in an unmotivational state. If you enjoy stories that speak to your soul, then Solanin might be a tale for you. It is one that is filled with mental struggles of several kinds and brilliantly displays every one of them. Perhaps it might be boring for some though. This is the kind of story that is definitely not for everyone. I love this story. It joined my top 10, as most of you guys know, and right now Miyako might be my favorite character of all time. But I can recognize that might just be the fact that Miyako's character speaks to my soul as a whole, and how much I love that about her character. The story is not one for those who desire to escape into fantasy. It is real, it faces the hard truth of reality, but I can say without a doubt that I recommend this masterpiece. Every character throughout the story feels real. Not just Miyako, but every individual feels like a real person that Asano might have even known in real life. This enters the spoiler section of today's video, but I also have to include a disclaimer. I'm going to be talking about some serious personal things in this section in some brutal detail. So skip ahead if you guys don't want to hear those things, or if you guys also don't want spoilers for the last second half of the manga. The twist that occurs in the manga that struck me the hardest was when Miyako lost her boyfriend out of nowhere. For the first time in a while, he had finally felt how it was to be so happy. Again, his relationship was fixed with Miyako and everything seemed fine. But then out of nowhere he dies. He gets run over by a car. Miyako obviously can't handle losing the only thing that gave her a purpose in life and was broken afterwards, taking years for her to move on. But in reality, she doesn't move on after the time skip we receive. We never know when we are going to die or when someone else's life is just going to be taken away. Life is a mysterious adventure enriched with tragedies and blessings. As humans, we are filled with grief, but we also learn joy and happiness, and Solanin is a story filled with this sense of self-discovery. I loved Solanin, and I know I've made that abundantly clear several times throughout this video, but this part is what hit me the most. I've always been one that's been afraid of my close ones dying and my response to it. I've dealt with death several times in my life with those around me that I love passing away, and it always puts me in this sense of almost this despairing feeling, this feeling of emptiness. And when I saw Miyako's reaction to her boyfriend's death, it was almost like she was empty, like she had no purpose left in the world. He was her happiness and everything. And I can only wonder if I lost the most important people in my life, wouldn't I be the same way? I know it's this almost rational fear, but also a sense of a little bit irrational, as in most people's heads they might be like, well, that's crazy talk. You're always going to have somebody that you care about. What's the chances that they're going to die tomorrow? And that's the thing, we just don't know when people are going to die around us. Another piece that really hit me when it came to the story of Solanin was the whole routine concept. I've always been scared deep down of falling into a routine. I know how ridiculous that sounds, but it's just something I despise. I like things being new. I like doing different things every day. I like every day feeling like an adventure. I never want to fall into everything just being a repeat, as if my days are the exact same every week. I hate that sensation, and I've made this abundantly clear in so many videos. I mean, years and years ago, when my channel was first starting up, I made a video on Asteroid in Love, and my main point in that video was the whole concept of a dream. A whole concept of this sense of drive and how that affects us moving forward in life. How that affects our passion, drive, and goal. How that pushes us forward so much. But then there's the sensation of being afraid that every day is going to be the same. In that video, I went into detail on how I was scared that every day was going to be the same. That I was just going to wake up, go to school, come home, and then repeat the same process next day. And when I finally got the job I desired, I was just going to wake up, go to work, and then come home the next day. And that is what gave me this sense of connection to Miyako as a character throughout the entire story of Solanin. That's what caused me to cry at several moments, because as I was reading Solanin, I felt this personal connection to Miyako on this inner level that I can't even explain with words. I love this manga so incredibly much. From her overthinking, to her lack of a purpose, to her falling in a routine, I identify with Miyako. And as her story continues, the story only grows on me more. Eventually, the story of Solanin continues as Miyoko decides to live a life that never forgets him. She learns guitar and reunites his old band, playing a song he genuinely loved. He wrote the song specifically for Miyoko, and it is only here where she finally discovered the secret to her own happiness. There are so many things to unpack in the final moments of this manga, so many different messages that left an internal impact upon myself. The direction of the manga is incredible. I believe it can be split into 2 parts. Part 1 being prior to the death of Miyoko's boyfriend, who does have a name, by the way. It's Naru. I know I haven't really been saying the name. He has a very key role to the story, especially as he finds a drive and a purpose in the manga himself. Part 2 coming afterwards, with Miyoko dealing with his death and moving forward. Solanin is absolutely incredible as a story. No one knows what the future has for them, and reading towards the end of such a short, great story has been surprisingly really emotional for me, to the point where I described this story with my freaking therapist. Like, the story hit me that hard. At different parts, I felt different things, but especially among the ending, everything felt concluded and it just felt great. Seeing the smile Miyoko had was incredible, but what killed me the most was the part when she played Solanin. In the manga, there's a song that the boyfriend Naru makes. He makes it specifically for Miyoko, but she's never heard it before. The song was directly towards him. Immediately upon finishing the manga, I found the official song they sang and I heard it. The song's lyrics were written by Asano himself, and when I heard it, it brought me to tears. I might have not understood the words, but I knew exactly what it meant, and I know how irrational this sounds, but what this song meant to me at least was everything. In the end, Miyoko goes back to her routine life, something I have dreaded for myself to fall into for a very long time. I don't want to be in a routine. But this time, Miyoko has something she had lost originally, and that was happiness. The band remained and continued to practice, and she continued to live, and that is how this story ends. Perhaps one of the reasons why Solanin's story hit so close to work was I was reading it right after I got back from a 3-week break from my job. And for those 3 weeks, there were parts of it where I felt just like Miyoko. Exactly like her, in fact. Sure, I had the time of my life at Anime Expo, but I still had this mental anguish in my mind, this mental concept where I was like, I feel the same way as she does. The song Solanin is an emotional masterpiece that I do recommend listening to, by the way. The emotions are perfectly presented and the words encompass the entire message and character of Naru. The future is uncertain. Happiness is only a fleeting moment that cannot be preserved for the future, but you can make it continue through your actions. The world is a terrible place where death consistently happens. Often, life falls down to a simple routine. It falls down to the average desk worker. The average is considered happy from afar, but it's not for everyone. In fact, you experience just as much sadness. Solanin is a wonderful tale that dives deeply into these concepts, and I'm sure there's more to say. In fact, from what I've heard, there's an epilogue that continues some aspects of the story, and I haven't even read that yet, and I don't know if I even plan to. I'm content with the conclusion to the original story. It was an emotional masterpiece for my emotions, for who I am as an individual, and it caused me to cry countless times. From what I've heard, Asano uses Miyako as a self-insert for himself, and that's what makes everything so real and relatable to me as a reader. It feels like a story about real problems, overcoming one's youth, coming of age, not falling into a boring life, needing a change, friendship, loss, grief, love. It encompasses so many issues that people experience and puts it into a single volume of manga that, in my opinion, everyone should read. It's really short, and I highly recommend it. As long as you don't force yourself to read it and you just enjoy the journey of the great manga. And I wonder, it might make you just as emotional as me, or you might not feel the same connection to the characters, but I think that you might enjoy it. Just give it a shot, it's only a volume, but that is the masterpiece of Solanin. Thank you guys so much for watching a non-Bleach video on my channel. I don't know how well this video will do, but it is one that I wished to make truly. I mean, this manga truly did impact some of my own views, and I'm really excited just to read more Asano works. I want to try to make more occasional content on mangas that aren't Bleach, like Asano's masterpiece here, for example. So I'd love it if this video did well, so I could make more videos like this one. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching today's video. And the words of Ginichimaru, bye bye.